Running. All right, I think I got it. Sorry, sometimes when you only have one monitor, poor guy, one monitor. Good morning. Here, say good morning. There you go. Awesome. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's David's Deep Dive. Today, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, one of the most compelling subjects to me. And I promise you, this is not going to be exactly what you probably think it is, but I promise that I'll give you some insights into some things that probably are not considered when it comes to my favorite topic, which is business ownership. So my name is David A. Perez. I have this event every Tuesday called David's Deep Dive, where I break down concepts that can benefit your business and your life. I have a book called Building Your Own Economy. And in that book, I teach and show you how to sculpt and create the life by design that would allow you to afford a life that most people really can't even dream about. I say that because being in control is what I seek each and every day, and to controlling the outcomes that I produce, as well as the things that go on in my life. And I believe you should focus on you before anyone else. And that's what building your own economy is all about. So today I'm going to talk about something called the truth about business ownership, what it's really like. So before I get into this is not a long presentation at all, but I promise I'm going to do my best to give you as much as I can. See, as I was preparing for this week's event, I was trying to come up with a topic that I thought was very meaningful and very real and relevant at the time. And, all this past 7 days since our last event, I have been kind of constantly barraged with different things that have needed my attention. And because of that, it's really hard for me to get clear on a topic, to get clear on something for you guys. And so I thought, wow, well, this is really it. Maybe this is the topic. Maybe it's me sharing with you the truth about business ownership and what it's really like. Because I think many people go through life thinking that they want to own their own business or to be their own boss is really what it comes down to. I think that really is a big statement to a lot of people, regardless if they say it out loud or not. I think everybody would like to be their own boss, which their own boss means to set their own hours, to write their own check, to be their own leader, to not have to respond or reply or to answer questions from anyone. And this is one of the biggest thought processes that go behind becoming a business owner. And so today, I'm going to share with you what I've learned over the last 15 years or so of being a business owner. Now, from me to you, I'm 38 years old now, and for 15 years, I've been in the business world at some capacity. I started as a realtor, which may sound like it's not your own boss, but it really is. I had the opportunity to help people buy and sell homes and lease properties. And I did that in 2006, 2007. And that's when I got into the business. And then right around 2008, the market crashed and I was, kind of up a creek without a paddle. And that was my first real, we'll call it business, where I actually was in control of my time, meaning I could dictate when I wanted to work and when I didn't. I was in control of my income because I was a determinant. If I wanted to work more or work less, I would make more money or make less money. I was marketing myself. I was out there networking myself. I wasn't just talking about companies or who I worked with. It was really about me. And it was my first real exposure to the concept of being a business owner. Now, I learned a lot those first 2 years because I honestly learned that I sucked. I don't know about you guys, but have you ever learned that you sucked at something? Well, I really sucked at being a business owner back in 2006. And it was a lot of my immaturities, my lack of organization, my need to have fun rather than to be serious. There was a lot of things that I just did wrong. I wouldn't follow up with customers. I wouldn't show up on time. I hated answering phone calls. I hated making phone calls. I hated going out. I hated marketing. I hated the networking events because all of that took away from the times that I wanted to just have fun. And I thought being a business owner was all about making my own time. And so I wanted to do things when I wanted to. And I realized that that was just not the case. You see, the real epiphanies that I had were moving forward. After that, I went into the tax business. And in that tax business, I learned a lot. And I learned a lot about organization and structures and networking, all the things that I should have done in my first business. I learned in my second business. But let me kind of tell you why. So this is really the only slide today, right? We're going to talk about the good of this, right? So in business today, in any business, doesn't matter if you're a business owner right now currently or you're aspiring to be one, the first thing you'll learn is in order for you to really be successful in business, and this is part of the truth part, which is you have to want to help and serve others. And you have to have a burning desire to solve a problem for a customer. And that typically is a hard sentiment to buy into when you're selling a product or you're selling a service that maybe you're kind of passionate about or that you kind of like. Most people turn their hobbies into businesses, and that's really why it doesn't necessarily succeed, or it does succeed. And so you have to understand that this is all about customers. Nobody can really get far in business without having customers. In fact, that's kind of the number one thing I tell people when they come to me with questions about business ownership and they say, David, I want to get into business myself. And the first thing they say is, so how do I get an LLC, and how do I structure it, and how do I find this, and how do I get financing, and how do I get my EIN, and how do I done payroll? And they ask me all these technical questions, which I guess maybe I'm the technical guy to come to because I feel like I have a lot of that knowledge. But what it really comes down to is I always respond with a simple statement is like, you can't do anything until you have customers. So thinking about all the other things that are going to really, maybe matter at one point is cool. But at this point, you can't do anything without customers. Now, what I've learned over the years, and I found some statistics to kind of suggest, but according to the Small Business Administration, 20% of businesses go out of business in their first year of existence. 20% of small businesses go out of their existence in their first, year. And at year 10, for a business to go 10 years, only 33% of the businesses survive. 33% of those businesses survive. Now, if I want to go further, there's some other statistics, right? Which means any business that goes past 10 years, that doesn't mean they're going to make it. That means that they'll make it to a point where they either go out of business or they sell. And actually 80% of businesses today will just eventually go out of business. They won't actually have any succession plan. They won't have an exit strategy. They won't be able to sell it. It's not something that they can exit. And because of that, the beauty in business is that it's very good if you're good, and it's very bad if you're bad. And so let's talk about this. I'm going to break this down for you today in a way that I think would really make sense. Okay. So first, you have to have customers. That's the good thing, having customers. Second, you got to have a team. You got to grow a team. Almost 80%, I think it's 78% of businesses today are really solopreneurs, somebody who just does everything themselves. 70 something percent, I think 77%. I didn't get the stat, but I remember it. And I would tell you that if you have that many people who are actually just solopreneurs, just one person, it's very hard to grow if you're only one person. So one of the good things is you get to add people if you really want to go big in business. You have to add people. This is one of the most beautiful things I think any business can do today, is to hire people and to engage people in working for your company and providing them an opportunity to advance themselves professionally, financially, and of course, through the growth of your company. And so I think this is probably one of the good things that you can do, is hire people, finding the right customer, solving their problem. These are good things. And of course, experiencing the growth. Now, I think that if I look back on all the years that I've been in business, and I've been in business 15 years, I think some of the best things I've ever done in business is really find and attract the right people to my business. Now, the reverse to this, or the opposite to this, is the bad, which is the bad part about owning a business is having to find people. I don't want to say that in a negative way, but I'll just tell you, it's very hard to find people that want to grow, who are looking to expand and to develop and become part of your team. I've looked back at many of the years, right? And I find that in my good, I have passion. I find drive. I find, the purpose in what I do through business. But in the bad, I find that the people that I deal with sometimes give me a lot of challenges. The time that I give to the business isn't always rewarded. the money and compensation that I receive isn't always there. In fact, for true business owners who want to be in business or who are in business today or who are aspiring to be there, the honest truth is to go into business for yourself is not going to be one of the most financially rewarding things at first. In fact, it's probably one of the worst things you could ever do if you really need money. Taking that leap of faith to become a business owner, I would encourage anybody to have money already in a savings account, because honest truth is you're probably not going to make a lot of money starting your business. Even if your products sell, and even if you're the hottest thing in the market, as you start growing, meaning selling more to more customers, more product goes out the door. Depending on the type of business, you could have more inventory constraints. You could have more quality controls constraints. You may have more service-based business, or let's call it staffing constraints. And all of those are going to require more resources, which is money. And because of those resources being drained from you, what you're going to have is that you're always going to constantly be turning over money. So you'll always have this constant and never ending opportunity to reinvest your money. And you always take that opportunity if you want to grow. And if you don't want to grow, you're probably part of the 20% that goes out of business in the first year. So when I talk about how we do this, how the bad goes is really the first few years. In fact, it really takes about 10 years to really see some growth in a business. 3 is probably where you'll start seeing something, but 10 years is really where it happens. Is there's going to be much sacrifice, which is the bad part. Maybe you're saying, well, David, this is not something I've never heard before, but I don't think anybody really is prepared to know what the type of sacrifices that you'll have to make. A lot of the sacrifices that you're going to have to take during this part or this pursuit really is not necessarily just financially, although that does probably hinder most people from doing this. It's really the time and the energy that you're going to have to invest in others and other things and in your business that is probably going to drain you more than anything. You see, I used to work in my first business actually was real estate. My second business wasn't taxes. I misspoke. It was an actual bar or a lounge. And that would take 16 to 18-hour days. It would require me to, bartend. It would require me to play bouncer, break up fights, clean, sweep, mop, arrange, wash dishes, throw out the trash, clean the parking lot, scrub the windows, do the floor, stack the machines, order inventory, manage people, clean the restrooms. There was vendor relations. There was so much I had to do, and I had to pick it up because it was part of the business, right? And so those times that I did all those things, they were such drainers of my life. Honestly, I lost a lot of my life doing those things, but I also, felt like I really wasn't going very far because it's a lot of tedious work and it's a lot of, grunt work. That's really what happens. And so most people go into business thinking that this is going to be like the best thing that they ever did. They're going to create their own schedule and they're going to make a lot of money. All of that is reversed when you open a business. It's actually the opposite. You make less money, you work more hours, you have less freedom. In fact, if you are a very good entrepreneur, business owner, what you learn early on is that the majority of your time is going to be invested back into people. And the reason that you're going to work harder and you're going to work longer is because of the people that you serve, which is your team, or the people that you serve, which is your customer. Like, you will learn very quickly that your growth is really, really going to be based on how much commitment of time and energy you're going to give to others. And I learned that through really just trial and error, but really through the goodness of I've just been blessed with the ability to really connect with people. And I've been blessed with the ability to understand that nobody's going to work for me as the boss or a leader unless I'm willing to show up every day, unless I'm willing to develop every day, unless I'm willing to give every day. Like, that's part of the bad part of this business, because of any business, rather, it's part of it. It's part of the deal. Like, I don't necessarily want to devote so much time to my businesses every day, but I know that without that, they cannot grow. And there will be a point where I can take off, or I can exit, or I can delegate to a point. There's going to be that point. But until then, I just have to continue to do it. I have to grind. People would say, well, just step away. I can't. Like, that's what sucks about and the bad part about business. And so when I think about the people who are out there thinking, David, I want to get into business, where do I start? The honest truth here is, where do you start is really when you understand that you're going to work harder than you've ever worked before. there's no 9 to 5. There's no set salary. There's no restrictions of your time. When I heard somebody tell me they went into business, this was a few months back, somebody came to me and says, "Man, I started my own business, and yeah, man, it's been tough." And I said, "Oh, okay, cool, man. Well, what's so tough about it?" He's like, "Man, people are always looking for me. People are calling me." I'm like, "Man, that's actually a good problem." He's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Man, if you're in demand, that means people want to give you money. Why wouldn't you like that?" And he goes, "Well, it's because they always call me when I want to go hang out with my kids on the weekends and stuff." And I'm like, I mean, did you think that you weren't going to get bothered on the weekends? And he goes, "Well, man, when I signed up to do this stuff for myself, I thought it was because I could make my schedule and I was just going to spend more time with my children. That's why I quit my job and I wanted to do this." And I said, "I'm sorry to break this to you, but actually when you quit your job, you made a commitment to somebody else. You didn't just make a commitment to yourself. You made a commitment to your customers. You made a commitment to your team. You made commitments that are larger than just a job. And because of that commitment, what you now have to do is you have to own it, develop, grow, and stop crying about it. And you're actually going to have to give up some time with your kids. You're going to have to give up some time with your family. You're going to have to give up some time, doing your hobbies or hanging out or drinking or whatever it is that you think that you need to do. You're going to have to do it." And some of that really resonated with him and some didn't, right? And by the way, he's part of the 22%. Probably next 12 months, he won't be around. I can tell when somebody tells me that their priorities are, I have to just spend time with my family. Okay. And by the way, I'm not hating on a family. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just going to tell you, if you want to be a business owner, you can't just say that. Your family has to understand. They got to buy in too. They're invested just alongside of you. And without you doing what you're doing, they wouldn't be able to have the lifestyle that you want to provide to them. Just what it is. So if you haven't made that commitment, or if you haven't said that, well, then sorry, life will never be good for you as a business owner, and you must exit. So my thought process when I think about the good, the bad, and the truth really to me comes out when you really don't, the things that most business owners don't talk about. And I'm going to share some of those with you today because I think that's where the juice is. I'm going to squeeze that out and then we're going to end today. Okay. So I'm going to recap a little bit about my week in the last 7 days, just so you all kind of get where I come from and what I've had to been exposed to. And hopefully this will give you clarity and show you exactly what it takes, right? So I started as solopreneur many years ago as a real estate agent. Then I got into the bar and I had like 3 employees. Then I got that up to about 10. I got into the tax business and I had about 8 in my first year, then went up to, I think, like 14 or 15, and then stayed there for like a year or two. And then it went up to, 30 and then 60. And at my largest years, I had about 150 employees. And so I've always had team members, workers, people who work for me in some capacity. For many years, I've been in this kind of trend. Now, I share this with you because that sounds like it's awesome, because the more people that you add to your team, the better. And it was, and it's been. But obviously, there's some challenges that come with that. And there's a lot of leadership that needs to come. So for the last 7 days, today is Tuesday, from 7 days ago, a lot has transpired for me. A lot has transpired. I wrote this down. Since last Tuesday, let me make sure I can read my own notes here. I've had 37 meetings, all of which have been with somebody either on my team or a customer, like 37 individual meetings. I've had 2 work lunches. I don't do a lot of work lunches, but I've done 2 work lunches. I have had countless phone calls. I couldn't get to my phone to figure that out, but I would guess anywhere in the range of 50 to 100 phone calls from different people who have asked for a piece of my time, advice, knowledge, guidance, or just conversations. I've had 2 visits to 2 different facilities, or 2 visits. I'll just be honest with you, from a nonprofits perspective that we're working with, or that I work with, I've had 2 visits to stores to help and coordinate the logistics of getting families fed this coming Thanksgiving, which we try to do 5,000 of those. And that's not just a business owner. That's really just me taking on a volunteer role. I don't get compensated in any way to do that, but I get that done. I have helped to put on a party for my birthday, which is kind of interesting. But part of that party, honestly, some of you may have been there if you're on here or you know about it. Let me just tell you something. Part of that was an activator event for me. It wasn't necessarily just a party for me. I wanted to use that as something to drive home the connections, the fostered connections that I've built in business today. Some of the people that were in the room or at the party were people who I built really deep networks with, people who I wanted to connect with at a high level. And I also wanted to have a good relationship with them moving forward, and inviting them to this and showcasing some of the other people that I knew. It really brought credibility to my name and to my wife and I, and to who we've gotten to know and to establish. And that was part of business, by the way. That party was literally part of business. I have negotiated 2 things with 2 insurance companies on insurance claims that are against one of my, not against us, that I filed on a building that we had for rental that is now in some distress that we need to fix. I have had 2 large meetings, in-person meetings, with 2 of my departments that have been really big in part of this business. And then I've had 2 coaching sessions from one of my coaches who's really working with me to get out a brand message, things that I need to do. I've done all of this, honestly, and spent some time with my wife and gone to dinner and hang out and done some things all in 1 week. And that's not just a business owner. There's some of that stuff's a little personal, but I mean, I can add on there. I've done in just 7 days. I've been to the gym 6 days out of that thing. And that's part of me waking up early and committing to it. I've written in my journal. I've really committed to me. I've done a lot. Now, this isn't to impress you or anything. This is me to share something with you. To go in at the rate of speed that I want to go in life, there's got to be a lot of activity. And the truth about business is there's going to be a lot of activities that need to be produced on a daily basis that you will never get compensated for, that you will always be demanded to do, and that you will never, ever, ever, ever outgrow, because honestly, the farther that you go in business, the more demand is put on you. Now, you could say that eventually you're going to get to a point where you don't have to work anymore. And that is very true, except you'll be working through people at that point. You're going to get paid to think, then do. For a long time, you're going to be a doer until you can become a thinker. For a long time, you're going to be a doer until you can become a thinker. And a thinker tells people, these are my thoughts, these are my directions, this is where you go. And a doer executes. I'm hybrid right now. I'm a thinker and I'm a doer. I'm not always doing, but I'm not always just thinking. I want to get to thinking, but most business owners, that's an elite level of success. And for many people, when they get into business, they think, well, I'll hire people and I'll tell them to do this and they'll do that and they'll go there and they'll get this done. And I'm going to go play golf. I've never played a round of golf in my whole life. I've never skipped out on work to go bullshit or hang out. I've never put aside my, my work agenda for my personal agenda. And maybe there's been a handful of times over the years that I had to for family obligations and things, but honestly, I don't mess around when it comes to business because this is serious to me. And the truth is, business is serious. There is no other way I can put that than just to tell you, if I were you and I was getting into business and I'm not serious about my success, then I wouldn't do it. So I'm going to add this last 2 statements and then we're done for today, because this was kind of me just rambling off, but I really want to add this 2 things. Number 1, if you're in business or you want to get in business, the one thing you should always consider is how you treat your current responsibilities in a workplace is truly an indicator of your success in the business marketplace. It's truly an indicator of your success in the business marketplace. So what that really means, if I had to explain that again, is if you show up early, you stay late, you get the job done, you go above and beyond, you have no whining, no complaining, no bitching and moaning, pure dedication and commitment, not because of pay, because of passion, because of drive, and because of character, you will be successful in business. If somebody's always stealing your attention, you need to pay attention to everyone else. You wonder why people get paid more than you. You show up sometimes on time. You leave right on time. You don't always finish your job. You always do it maybe half-ass. You don't believe in the business that you're currently working in. You're not happy with what you're doing. And you really don't take pride in anything that you do. That is probably, and even if you resemble just 1 or 3 of those characteristics, owning a business should never be in your DNA. Just never going to do it. Because every time you say, I got to go at 4 or whatever time the time is in, that I got to go, they don't pay me more than this. Every time you say shit like that, you've already committed to yourself. Because even I don't care if you tell me it would be different if you owned your business. I know it wouldn't. How you are today is exactly how you'll be there. So if you really want to make it a big name for yourself in business, what you do is you build these characteristics of a strong business owner while you're working for somebody else so you can get paid to do it. And then once you have all these strong understandings, characteristics, work ethic, then you take that to the business world and you excel. And many people will never get that far because they can't see this. So I would tell you, number one, how you are today is how you will be as a business owner. So you have to make a decision. Which one is it? And number two, business doesn't have to be the end goal for everyone. Let me say that again. Business doesn't have to be the end goal for everyone. You see, many people will say, well, if I were a business owner, life would be different. And I just mentioned all those things. Yes, it would be different. Just may not be the different you want. But many people can be very, very, very successful working in a company. And maybe business ownership per se isn't something that you need to have. Maybe it's not even something you aspire to have. But let me tell you something. You don't have to be a business owner to be successful. In fact, most of the most successful, highest income earners in the world, doesn't matter where you live, are people who work in a company that they have supported, that they have helped to develop and produce at a high level for, and they're compensated at a high level for it. They don't necessarily need to be the owners. They don't have to take on all the responsibility, but they do get rewarded because of their commitments, because of their dedication, because of their life that they have sacrificed for. So you don't actually have to own a company to be successful. And I would tell you that that's a good and a noble thing to do. Honestly, it's something that most people don't understand, that they think the only way that they can have true freedom is through business ownership. And honestly, you can have freedom being anywhere as long as you understand that. You see, the last number 3 I'm going to put in here, because this is a bonus, is I want everybody to know who watches this, doesn't matter anybody in the world, you own your job. You own it. So if you really get that statement, if you own it, then what that means is everything you do is never for a company. It's never for someone else. It's for you. You don't show up early for the company. You show up early because it's for you. You don't get to the office to show up for the company. You show up for you. You don't do the job for anyone else, because what it is it's working to build you. It's working to build you. The skills that you possess, the dedication you possess, the integrity that you possess. You see, when I look at people today in my organization, when I look at them, what I think is, well, I guess I can't say what I think about any specific person, but I'll say this. What I see into the world is that's a hard worker. They're committed. They have a big heart. They're this, they're that. And I see it through their ownership of their job. Some people I can tell don't own their job at all. They just show up, check a box. And, sometimes I allow it because I need people to fill a seat some days. But it's more disheartening when it's somebody that you want to succeed, that has potential, but yet still can't do it. And there's people in our organizations that I run today that just need to go already. And we just haven't made those decisions. Some people's got to make those decisions, and I say that because they really don't own their job, right? They don't really own it. I love people who own their job, who say, I have to make this better. I'm going to make it better. I'm going to do good. I'm going to deliver. I'm going to commit. I'm going to grow. I'm going to do this. Now, they're not saying it for the sake of the company. They're saying it for the sake of their pride, for their integrity, for their commitment, for their own personal reasons, none of which are those of the company. And if you get that, what happens is you start to believe, not even just believe, you start to develop as a leader. And then that's when you either decide to go on your own, which I'm telling you, doesn't always have to be the case, or you then become a leader within the organization and get compensated at the highest levels. You see how that works? there is so much opportunity in the world for us, guys, that the only way that you can do it is by becoming either the owner of your job or a business owner. So that's really all I got for today. I kind of made this through as I went through my week. Before I leave, please, if you really enjoyed this and you haven't already done so, and if you know somebody who might want to benefit from this in some way, shape, or form, we do have an event coming up called Free Hunger Nation. It's Feeding 5,000. We feed families all over the Rio Grande Valley where I'm at. So, and if you want to participate in this and you're not even from our area, support our area. We're one of the most lowest income. We are the lowest income part of the whole country. But more importantly, if you don't want to do that, and you want to do it in your own community, I encourage you to start something on your own. We cannot stress how important the secret to living is giving, and giving is one of the most rewarding feelings I've ever experienced. And I know many people who would say the same. When I've given, every time I've ever given, it's always come back to me. It's always come back to me. And I can cite so many times in my life, and maybe you haven't seen or experienced that yet, but I would tell you, whenever I've done something just for the sake of doing it, because it was the right thing to do, I have never, ever experienced a time where I was in lack, or I was in need, or where I was without something. Because every time I've ever done it, it's always come back to me in some respects. It's always done that. I've always, I don't know if I'm blessed or I've got some sort of favor, but I would tell you, I don't think I'm the only one who experiences those things. So $25 feeds a family. If you're interested, freehungernation.com/donate. Or if you're local and you want to volunteer, or you want to nominate a family, because we will bless a family on your behalf, or you can actually join us and do that as well. Please do so. You can connect with me. Get a copy of my book, Building Your Own Economy. You can get that at my website, davidapettis.com. I'd love to have you get this book in your hands and share with you the opportunities to build your own economy, because I believe it's the only way you should live. So today is a good day to consider how you're going to own your job or own your business, or you're just going to do your thing. So I appreciate you guys so much, and I wish you nothing but a happy and successful and amazing day. Have a great day, guys.